Here's how to hack the LinkedIn algorithm and make millions and millions of pounds. You can't, sorry. Inside C2C, we're more about lasting change than talking about quick fixes and hacks. That said, here are 12 tips that you can implement straight away using LinkedIn. Number 1, how to make a thumbnail populate in the comments. If my CTAs contain a link, I make sure I put that CTA and the link in the comments rather than in the post itself, because people that comment are interested. It also gives me the chance to include a picture as well, or a thumbnail. The key is to post the comment from a mobile. It doesn't work from a desktop. So if you post the CTA comment from a mobile, the thumbnail will populate and it will take up more of the screen. And if it doesn't, either take a look at your website settings or go onto Google and search for a tool called LinkedIn Post Inspector. Tip number 2, turn your LinkedIn Lives into podcasts. If you've got any video footage, not just LinkedIn Lives, you can repurpose it into a podcast in seconds. Dead easy. Go onto Google and Google Spotify for podcasters. That will take you to a Spotify distribution tool that will send your podcast or your video, or the audio of your video, I should say, out to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and all the other ones that I can't remember. All you have to do is create an account and then upload the video, and it will distribute the audio accordingly. Dead simple. And then if anyone does want to go and check you out, you can have a link in your featured posts. So within a few days, you can have your first podcast live with no extra effort. And once you start doing lives or putting out YouTube videos regularly, you can just pay a VA to upload them for you. That way, if someone wants to check you out in a longer form setting without interrupting their LinkedIn scrolling, they can do so. Tip number 3, use polls to start conversations. Polls on LinkedIn can be pretty annoying. However, if you use them strategically and sparingly, they can work really well to help you start that first stage conversation or continue an existing one with potential clients. So you can ask people what their goals are, you can ask them what they're struggling with, you can ask them what their plans are for the next quarter or month, and you can also prescribe the options too. Once they've voted, you can drop them a message and find out more about that particular goal or challenge. Number 4, save high-performing content and review it weekly. Make it a habit whenever you're going through your feed to just save the content that you think will perform well or that you might be able to duplicate in some way. There are so many good posts going out on LinkedIn, whether it's nicely designed stuff, whether it's good videos, or whether it's just good old-fashioned writing. So every time you see a good one, save it. And then once a week, you can stick 10-15 minutes in your diary. You can go to My Items and then save posts and articles, and you'll be able to see everything that you've saved. And that will act as a swipe file for when you need some inspiration or you want to tap into something or you're a bit short on time, for example. Tip number 5, the controversial one. Don't send messages with connection requests. Ooh, it might ruffle some feathers, this one. Personally, I don't send a message when connecting. I think it looks desperate. Some people will obviously disagree with me. I think unless you can go ultra personalized, it probably just looks a bit weird. To me, when I receive a message with a connection request, I just think the person's like trying to sell me their friendship. It feels really weird. On the flip side, if they go really personalized, I'll probably find that a bit creepy too. So I just play it safe and don't send any messages whatsoever. Obviously up to you, but I've found that my connection rate's pretty high. Number 6, plan your content a week in advance. Most people are just living day to day in their lives, but also on LinkedIn as well. And we're here to talk about LinkedIn. Most people are just completely reactive. They don't have a backlog of posts and they're acting, as I say, day to day. They think of an idea on the spot and then they publish it. And what this does or doesn't do is allow for intention. Now, I'm not saying every post has to be planned out to the nth degree, but if you're just posting on the fly every single day, it's going to be pretty hard for you to tie every single post in with your objectives for the month or the quarter or the year. So I like to reverse engineer things, and I like to have a stack of content that I could just fire out at any time if need be. If I know there's an event coming up, I'll leave that day blank, but I like to have at least a week's worth of content ready so I don't have to think on the day. Because when you put constraints on creativity and you're under pressure, it can actually dampen the creativity itself. And it's always good to reverse engineer from the objective. It's something that we teach in C2C. So typically you'll want to sell things, book calls, get downloads, build your following, build your engagement, whatever your objectives are. But then you want to work backwards from those. How is the post that you're going to put out today or a week today actually going to tie in with that? And how can you drive people to take the desired actions? It all starts with a plan. Tip 7. Post about your offer at least once a week. Most people on LinkedIn have something to sell. The problem is they either try and sell it with every post or they never reference it. And neither of those things is good. So I would make a habit to post at least once a week about the thing that you sell. Otherwise, people aren't going to know that you do it. Or if you're posting about it all the time, they're probably just going to hate you. And that doesn't have to be a blatant post. You know, it could just be some social proof or your process or how you do things or talking about your availability or a price rise, whatever it may be. But make a commitment to yourself that you're actually going to show up and talk about how you help people. Number 8. Don't try to do more than one thing with each post. I see this a lot on Instagram. You get to the last slide of a carousel and people are telling you to follow, like, subscribe, I don't know, whatever else it is. Trying to pull people in about 17 different directions. Try and just have one clear path, exactly where you want to take people. Is it to book a call? Is it to download your freebie? Is it to buy your course? Is it to like? Is it to drop a comment? You have to be prescriptive with your content. People don't like to think, and if you give them choices, they probably won't take any of them, which in itself is a choice. Tip number 9. This isn't even really a tip. You are overthinking your about section. The amount of messages I receive saying, "Oh, is my about section right?" I don't care. I don't think I've ever read an about section. It's just a piece of text. You can change it whenever you want. So just write about your audience and the outcome that you bring, and then maybe give yourself a bit of credibility. Quick tip though, don't write it in third person. Tip number 10, use video every week. Your competitors probably aren't publishing enough video. They're probably just posting graphics and text. That's it. And the graphics are probably pretty rubbish as well. So if you can be the one that shows up with your face, talking with your mouth, that's going to help you stand out versus everyone else who isn't doing it. So at least once a week. And we try and go twice. One long form, one short form. If you're struggling, hop on a Zoom call with someone, get them to ask you some questions, chop up the footage, put some subtitles on it, maybe some music if you fancy it. Don't overload with loads of transitions and stick it out there. You're overthinking that too. Tip number 11. If you're trying to sell to businesses or corporates, it might be an idea to check out who is hiring. Bear with me. Obviously, LinkedIn's a social network, but it's primarily a job board. That means companies who want to fill positions will pay LinkedIn to advertise those positions to get candidates. When companies are hiring, that usually means they're trying to grow in that area or they're lacking resources in that area. So look for roles that would fall under what it is you offer as a service and then potentially reach out either to the hiring managers or find another decision maker in the business. As I say, hiring usually means growth. And the last tip, tip number 12, don't let people leave your page to go and view your competitors. This is a dead simple one. It's quite well known, but I thought I would highlight it anyway. There is a section that you can turn off on LinkedIn to make sure that people can't view other people who are similar to you, and then toggle it off. Make sure it's set to no. And that means potential clients of yours aren't going to go checking out the competition, which is the last thing you want. 12 quickfire tips that guarantee you will become a millionaire in the next 7 seconds. Hopefully you can implement. If you want to find out more about how we actually really help people make money, you can click this video here if you're on YouTube. If not, you can go and check out the channel on YouTube, or you can download some free resources from my featured section.